Hello there, and welcome to this overview video on NormalMaps. This video is meant to be the foundation for my upcoming asset creation tutorials. Because NormalMaps are already a science on their own, I will only try to cover the main aspects of NormalMaps in this quick overview video. Now, why exactly are NormalMaps important for game asset creation? If you've ever taken a look at game assets that are trying to resemble real-world models and are not stylized, you will soon realize that NormalMaps are a necessity for those assets. So what does make NormalMaps so special that they are always part of the assets? Due to the very limited poly count on game assets, NormalMaps are a blessing for every game artist. NormalMaps can fake high-res geometry detail, as the pixels themselves contain information about the slope of the surface at that point, so they change the way the light gets reflected from the surface. There are different types of NormalMaps, but for the sake of this tutorial, we will just take a look at tangent space NormalMaps. Tangent space NormalMaps can be identified by their predominantly blue color. In between the typical blue color, you can see red, green, and even darker tints of blue. The red channel contains the information of the light, which points the normals leftwards or rightwards. The green channel contains the information for upwards or downwards. And the blue channel contains the information for inwards or outwards. Dependent on the engine you use, these might change. So sometimes some engines need to be inverted, for example on the green channel. So the green channel actually codes the bottom light on these engines. But if we ever were to encounter this, I would mention it in the tutorial. So how do we now generate NormalMaps? There are many different ways of generating NormalMaps, each come with their specific software. So you will find a lot of different versatile software if you Google NormalMap generation. So probably the most easy and most obvious way regarding my channel history with Blender would be to use Blender. In that case, you would just need a high poly model, a low poly unwrapped model, put them at the origin of the scene, and basically just bake it out on a new texture using the internal renderer to bake the NormalMap. In my upcoming asset creation tutorials, we will do those things a little bit differently. For that, we will use xNormal, a software that is freely available, and even though it still looks like it comes out of the 90s, which it probably does, it's one of the most powerful NormalMap renderers up to date. So you can use that similar to the way we would bake something out with Blender, but in the case of xNormal, you can also use a cage that changes the way the rays get cast from the surface. Now this would become very detailed if I were to unfold this now, but if you are very interested in this and the technical and specific details, you can check out the wiki of Polycount and get more information there. So in the case of creating game assets, the use of a cage for us just means that we will have less artifacts in our NormalMap bakes. In the asset creation tutorials, we might also use a plugin for Gimp that lets you generate NormalMaps from textures, from diffuse textures, or specular textures, or whatever we can think of, and we can add some texture detail to our generated xNormal NormalMap with that. So the last step would obviously be to use these NormalMaps in our game engine, whatever we might use. In Blender, that is very easy. We just have to set up the texture with the NormalMap and change it to use the information of the NormalMap to change the geometry, the lighting geometry, and activate this little button for NormalMap so it actually knows it's not just a bump map. For Unity, it's just a matter of importing the NormalMap and then clicking and dragging, so that's even easier. So again, this is just meant as a foundation for the upcoming asset creation tutorials. And I hope, even though it was very quick and simple and just covered the main aspects, it was still useful, at least a bit. But I wanted to create a baseline of knowledge so that I can build up on that in my tutorials and don't have to explain all of this while I'm creating those assets. Alright, so thanks for watching.